Today, when a species goes extinct, it is lost forever. This bleak prognosis for Earth's biodiversity may be about to change thanks to developments in stem cell research. The still experimental process of bringing an extinct species back to life through somatic cell nuclear transfer is known as cloning. They are currently trying to bring back the great auk and the dodo bird. Today I'm going to discuss the extinction of the great auk and the possibility of bringing it back. The great auk was also known as the original penguin. Great auks once ranged all over the eastern seaboard of the United States and the western coast of Europe, with evidence showing that it reached as far as Florida and Italy with the range. Great auks were fantastic swimmers and spent most of their lives at sea. They did return ashore for their mating period on islands near Iceland in May and in June. Unfortunately for the great auks, Europeans discovered the Great Cod Banks, and starting in the 1500s, they made regular voyages that often took them near their mating islands. So just about the time these ships were growing desperate for fresh meat, who should present themselves but a gathering of great auks as large and tasty as geese, and easily caught. It became an annual occurrence for each ship involved in cod fishing to come and load up at these islands, and the auk population could not replenish under such an attack. Estimates say that at the time of European discovery in the 1500s there was as many as hundreds of thousands of mating pairs on Funk Island. By the late 1700s the decrease in their numbers was large enough to be noted. This was unfortunate because it set off a mania as collectors for both museums and for individual collections became determined to find examples of birds and eggs for their collection, further hastening their end. There had been 3 mating areas for the great auks. The first was Funk Island, and right on the shipping lanes it was quickly disposed of. The second was Gerfunglasker Island, which was taken out by a volcano in 1830. The last was a speck of an island called Eldey Island. Eldey became the auk's last stand. June of 1844 the species became extinct. The Little Ice Age may have reduced their numbers, but massive exploitation further down eventually reduced the population to very few birds. Specimens of the great auk and its eggs became highly collectible and highly prized. Today, around 75 eggs of the great auk remain in museum collections, and about the same number of skins, while literally thousands of isolated bones have been collected from 19th century Funk Island. Only a minute number of complete skeletons actually exist today. Analysis of mtDNA sequences have confirmed morphological and biogeographical studies in regarding the razorbill as the great auk's closest living relative. Interestingly, they were also closely related to the dovekie, which underwent a radically different evolution compared to penguins. The entire lineage seems to have evolved in the North Atlantic. Due to the outward similarity to the razorbill, they are currently working on cloning the great auk and the dodo bird through the razorbill. Cloning is the production of duplicate copies of genetic materials, cell, or entire multicellular living materials. The history of cloning goes back to 1938 when a German scientist suggested removing the nucleus, which contains the genes, from an egg and replacing it with the nucleus from another cell. But back then they did not have the tools or technology to do such a thing. They tried again in 1952 and 1970. Finally, in 1984, scientists reported the successful cloning of a sheep. Cells from an early post-fertilization stage of development were taken out and put into a denucleated egg from a second sheep. The second sheep gave birth to a healthy lamb with cells having the genes from the original. Cloning has never been done on an endangered species before, but since it has been done on other mammals, it is very possible that it can be done on an endangered species. Extinct animals would be very hard to clone. A female can't normally give birth to an animal of a different species, but it is not yet clear whether a female of a closely related species could give birth to a clone of a different species. Genes can mutate or suddenly change as a result of exposure to normal background radiation or certain chemicals or other influences. And some mutations may be lethal. Who knows what could happen when you have a clone with mutations? A big issue of concern when cloning is that the clone might bring a new disease into the world that has not yet been here before and can spread it to other creatures or humans. In the case of the Great Auk, they would try to have the razorbill carry the cloned egg. This is an issue, however, because there is a large size difference in the two that could affect the egg in catastrophic ways. They are hesitant to clone the Great Auk for this reason. Some animals have gone extinct because they cannot survive in the world as it is today. Even if the animals could survive and would not cause a crisis, issues still remain unanswered. Issues such as who serves as a surrogate mother is a key issue. Moreover, not all animals can be cloned. They may not contain the correct strand of DNA to be used in the cloning process, which means that there would be a foster gene implanted into the DNA to recreate the animal, making it an unnatural and potential danger in its own reproduction stage. There are many downsides to cloning that must be taken into account. If the animal did become extinct due to environmental conditions, perhaps it is best not to bring them back from extinction. There are no groups who specifically are against the cloning of the great auk and the dodo bird. However, there are many groups who oppose to cloning as a whole. In conclusion, cloning is a great scientific advancement that we should not take lightly. I believe it would be great if they could bring back the great auk and the dodo bird. Those two animals went extinct because humans hunted it to extinction. And if we were to bring back the great auk, we surely would not make that mistake again. There are some issues with who would be the surrogate mother for the great auk due to its incredible size. Cloning technology has made it possible to bring back the great auk and other extinct animals. It is important that we think very hard before we clone some animals that simply couldn't survive in today's world. The great auk is an amazing bird, and cloning it would be an amazing breakthrough for the scientific community.